how people, and you mentioned this earlier, people fall in love with their computers or with their phones or with their pets, right? So I think it's going back to your question. It's really hard to say when we will start falling in love with AI. But I think, I mean, if it's more about having that delightful experience, I think we're already there. To Stephanie's point, we can deliver it via narrow AI.
Right, because at the end of the day, what we're really talking about is, can AI satisfy a human need?
Yes.
Right? Whether that be love, convenience, or something else. Shahab, you talk a little bit about serving a need like virtual assistants, for example.
Yeah, so I think the reason that AI came to being was to actually cover the needs of humans. And I think we are currently at the stage that big companies are setting the platform, setting the tone on how AI can be used, and the idea there is that people can take initiative there, they can understand how these different applications can be made, and then we see big companies such as Apple, such as Google, Facebook, these guys are preparing and making it much easier for developers to come up with real-life applications of it. And what's really interesting is that anyone can kind of see what's the use case, put it together, and start with the narrow AI in different industries, in different aspects, and then suddenly the whole thing comes together as a general AI that takes care of all of our needs, from convenience, getting things on demand, from communication, making sure that you can deliver your message to a very big audience using AI. So I think it's just a matter of more and more developers getting active in the scene and delivering the opportunities that are possible with it. I mean, when internet came to being like 20, 30 years ago, no one imagined it to be the way it is right now. And AI is the next level, which is right now we know it as it is right now, but it can be expanded to much more real-life applications, and I'm very excited to experience that.
I think it's interesting because when we talk about AI, usually, it's a program, it's something that you write, it's code that you write, it's data you ingest, and some kind of output. But there's also something that sometimes gets decoupled from that, which is like the front-facing design, right? It's kind of like, I think that human expectation is going to change. Do you guys have opinions on that?
Yeah, I really think a lot of times when we talk about AI, the disciplines that Stephanie, for example, is involved in, data science, it is really important, right? Analytics, data science will power a lot of the training and a lot of the interactions eventually. What we shouldn't forget is the human element. Paul earlier talked about, human design, right? It is very important to have good experience design around these AI interactions, whether it still be with the current generation chatbots, or more in the future where technology is more ambient, right? It's the decision point where does the AI do something without prompting ahead of the order from the human? Is that too obtrusive? Is that too irritating? Or is that considered delightful? These are questions that designers will have to ask themselves, right? More and more in the future. How much does the AI step in ahead of the ask from the human? Right? And that's why I think, quite honestly, that experience design, particularly in the Philippines, is something we should also focus on, and something we are looking at within our own organization also. And design thinking is one of those disciplines that we have been using. A lot of the speakers today talk about the human component, even previous talk from Donald about marketing and looking at the story. I think it is an important component. I think it's a good differentiator for our country, quite honestly, because we do have a good base to build not just good interface design, but good overall experience design, good overall, the total experience beyond the digital platforms, as Donald mentioned earlier.
So that was more about working on AI. I think that humans, that's going to be a really interesting job category to be in, now actually. Human AI interface designer. But there's another kind of framework for how AI can work, and that's someone can be working on the HCI interface, and someone should be working with the AI to talk to the human. One thing AI is not as good at as humans is generalizing from rare instances of data. Usually you need a training data set that covers every possible scenario and covers multiple examples of every possible scenario, whereas a person can have one experience, and that one experience would totally change your life, totally change the way you think. That's not possible right now for humans. What that means is, I'm seeing this now in artificial automated personal assistant companies where they have computers handling 20 to 50%, AI handling 20 to 50% of the common interactions. And whenever it deals with something it's never seen before, it's not going to work so well, so it bumps it over to a human who then pretends to be a computer answering a question. Yeah, there are a lot of those jobs in the Philippines right now. If you just keep knocking on doors in Makati, BGC, Ortigas, you'll find a couple of those startups.
So, I mean, we talk about these jobs like, developing data science and designers.
Yeah.
Like, what are the typical, what's the typical education trajectory, career trajectory? What are the entry points?
Well, go ahead, Shab.
Yeah, I think this is very interesting in the sense that a lot of us are hearing more and more about AI, and we have this scary imagination of like what this looks like, and you think that you have to be someone in the industry for the past 20 years to be able to start with it, but it really starts early on by just being curious and trying to use all the online resources that are out there, and most of it is even free. And since it's a very new industry, it's very easy to catch up, to kind of start your journey there. And I would like to encourage anyone who is curious about it to start studying and exploring the opportunities, because what is very important with AI is actually like the logic and the thought process. If you think that something should be automated, or if you think that a computer should be able to make certain decisions based on previous historical data, there are many tools and many ways to kind of apply that and get started with building applications that actually change your life right after you build them. And the very amazing part about it is that it doesn't need to be like a big company that makes one application or one software mainstream. Since it's tech-based, you can create your own application, and if it really solves a day-to-day problem, then it can be replicated and used by millions of people in a very short span of time. And when we talk about like how will AI change our lives, it really comes down to the point that once someone gets it right, tomorrow it's everywhere. And like it's just a matter of having enough people, having enough initiative for developers, for programmers, for different companies to kind of embrace this and come up with applications that would change their own industry, their own life, and suddenly we will have a bunch of solutions that will be part of our day-to-day life. I mean, nowadays, if you open your Facebook feed and you see a post that is not so relevant to you, you will be angry. And that's because we already got so used to artificial intelligence being able to understand what we want to see, and then having a hard time when we already go back to the previous algorithm or the previous setup where it was not so smart. And we really get used to these solutions very, very fast. And that's why it's very hard to predict that whether it's 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now. I think the matter there is that are there enough people who want to come up with these real life applications? And if we have that, it could be next year. And if we don't have that, it could be decades before we see the applications.
I want to echo that. That's actually a really good point. To get into this field is not, you don't need 10 years of experience. Actually, I'd be really shocked if anyone had 10 years of experience, because this modern like wave of machine learning has only been around like for the last like 5 years. Yeah, more or less, right? And all of the resources are available online. It's really, really not something that you must have a specialized PhD to be able to build an application for. Maybe if you want to do PhD level research in building generalized artificial intelligence, you need to do that. But if you want to build something useful, like a mobile app that can like take a picture of someone's skin and tell you this is a skin lesion, that's skin cancer, like that's super useful. You actually don't need a full PhD for that. You need to have some computer science fundamentals, strong algorithms, strong math, linear algebra. For those of you still in college, like please pay attention to those classes. This is where you'll use them. And you can watch all these classes online. Most of Stanford's computer science machine learning classes are online. Just Google CS231N, computer vision, CS224N, natural language processing, and you can get you'll get that Stanford grade curriculum made available to you. Coursera has a whole number of courses on data science. Okay, but please learn Python and not R. I would just like to make a very strong case for that. And Udacity has like a huge chunk of courses. Google's TensorFlow and Facebook's PyTorch releases all have tutorials and documentation online. If you are interested in this field, you don't have the excuse of saying, where can I learn? There's nowhere to learn. This is the magic that the internet has brought to us, so do it. Of the 10 people working on my team right now at Thinking Machines, we're working on all sorts of machine learning and AI applications. Only I think 3 of us have had any formal background in machine learning, but the rest of us are, have the fundamentals learned over time, working on projects, focused on solving problems at whatever level it is we reach them, and I think like that's all it takes to get there. So I hope some of you start that learning journey.
So me, if I can jump in, totally want to echo Stephanie's point. I work for a large organization, Accenture, right? And we do have a wealth in our internal training courses, but more and more we are leaning on online resources. I myself I built my own drone computer vision application just using the Google Cloud Developer Platform overnight in like 2 hours. I didn't go through any formal courses in Accenture. I opened up a Google Cloud Developer account, and in 2 hours, I had my application up and running.
I mean, I think it's really fascinating because we talked a little bit at dinner last night about how you get these skill sets, and that actually Shahab has hired people who don't have a college degree. I'm not advocating dropping out of school anyway, but because, I mean, it's so new. We're learning it as we're doing it. Like the teachers are teaching the students 1 hour before the class, and so it really is up to you to have sort of the moxie to be able to look at it up yourself, check it out, and then develop these skills to create other kinds of AI programs. But I also want to discuss the other jobs that will come out, because this morning Paul was talking about, technology, it's going to start doing the jobs of what people are doing. And in fact, the Philippine government has already enforced, or they've already came out with a statement saying that it was going to affect like 43% of the workforce. But I think that it's not, does everybody have to become a coder? I don't think that that's true. I think new jobs will come out of it. You guys have ideas?
Yeah, let me jump in. I think definitely one of the things we've been talking a lot about in our organization is what we call responsible AI. And I think personally one of the roles that will come out in the next few years is the role of the AI ethicist. Right? There is, from the time that you start chefing the learning data, you need to make sure that the data that is used doesn't lend to any negative biases for the machine eventually. Right? There's a good book out there called Weapons of Math Destruction, MATH. Highly recommend to read it. It's about a female statistic's ex-quant, who she details how bad algorithms have led to disasters and have led to negative biases and certain groups being excluded from benefits and other things that were due to them simply because the machine or the algorithm wasn't set up properly or was trained with bad data. Right? So the role of the AI ethicist, I think, in the future will be to make sure that the machine is being trained in the neutral way, or at least is being trained in a beneficial way that will result in non-biased behaviors from either the chatbot or whatever it's interacting with.
Yeah, I think my 2 cents are interesting enough. I'm not a developer. I don't have a programming background, nor I can code probably more than 5 lines. So I'm not a programmer, but what I've been noticing is that since at least personally our companies in technology, we see the interface of programming has been changing. If you look at like the boring way of programming that was 20, 30 years ago when you had to manually write your code and then compile it later on in the computer, and nowadays the compilers and all the languages are getting more and more developed, what it results to is that it will open up more opportunities to people who are not programmers to program things. And what is becoming the trend is that to be a programmer, what you need to know is the logic, is the thinking process. It's how you apply how you apply technology to solve your problems. And as we go along, I believe that bigger companies will be providing more and more opportunities to non-programmers becoming programmers by really changing the interface of how programming is done. So the new jobs that will come as a result of this is just more need for people to think about applications of artificial intelligence, and a very easy platform where anyone can kind of apply those thinking. And just imagine if you can verbally talk to a computer and the computer understand what you mean and turn that into programs. And I think that's where we are headed. So now that verbal kind of communication, of course, is a development that needs to happen. But just imagine the moment that it happens, then anyone can just talk to their computer and get things programmed. And then we don't know what amazing things can be created using that, because you can be a 50, 60-year-old who's just sitting at home and has certain problems, and think about how can you solve those problems, and then you just talk to your computer and suddenly you made a program. Now you're not necessarily an expert, you are not necessarily a programmer, but you had the ability to create new applications, and if we connect it all via internet, it can spread very, very quickly, and people in different countries can be helping each other out overnight through applications that they share.
Yeah, and it's also, you said something very important, which is like, solving a problem. And that not everybody who knows how to code knows what all the problems of humans are. That goes back to the design thinking, But it really, somewhere somebody decided that, wow, I really wish I could look at a map while I was driving, for that to become a thing. And so it also seems like once a person, like a laundress, a tailor, has this idea, this problem that they're thinking of, there's going to have to be somebody who sees it through and can translate. There might also be, translators from a business to what is going on for production. I think maybe project management will also become an even bigger industry than it already is, and more expensive when you are related to AI.
Yeah, I think this is exactly like where we come, and this is like literally the vision that we have at Machine Ventures, which is let's just look around and see the problems that we are facing on a day-to-day basis, and then ask ourselves, how can we use the most basic technology to solve it for a lot of people? And this is kind of like the thinking process for us when we are creating different solutions, when we are building different startups and different companies. I'm not a programmer again, so I'm not the one who actually programs it, but it's more like you see these small problems that we are facing, and you are like, that can be solved very easily, and it's just a matter of putting it together, putting the solutions together. When we created like our first venture around 2 years ago, it was called Hey Kuya, an SMS-based personal assistant service, and the idea there was like, everyone is just wasting so much time doing errands, and I know that there are a lot of people who need opportunities, a lot of people who are willing to kind of do these things for other people. And then we asked ourselves, like, how do we make it available to like everyone? And we had poor internet connection problems, and we said SMS is the channel that almost everyone uses. At the end of the day, Manila is the capital city of SMS around the world, and we said if we make it SMS-based, then everyone can use it, and then there are other people who are willing to do this. And we used really like absolutely no technology in making our first version. Actually, the first version was a mobile phone connected to our laptop, which just mirrored the text, and we were just manually texting people. But the thinking behind it was that the moment that we grow, we can apply really like tiny bits of technology to just make this more scalable. And it really comes at that point where it's like, you don't necessarily need to know the answer immediately, but it's just that if you're trying to solve a problem and you know we are capable of solving it, then suddenly the pieces come together. The moment that you take the first step, the second step appears to you. But all you need to know is that where you are today, where you want to be, and you can't necessarily predict the way to get there, but it's just that every once in a while you ask yourself, have I gotten any closer to the destination or to the vision that we had? And that's literally the thinking process that we have.
So, and actually that brings us to our next point, which is talking about talent management. So talking about recruitment, given that the pool of different talents and the kind of newer technologies, how do you vet who is a good candidate to bring onto your team?
So hard. Hiring is so hard. No one has the skill sets
Stephanie
I'm
is taking
for.
Resumes.
I'm taking resumes. If anyone would like to work for
Me too.
like a data science startup, any of our startups, just give us a call. So for my team, because we work on a lot of civic projects, I tend to look for people who just have the fundamentals, show me that you've done, show me that you can self-learn, show me that you have some computer science and some statistics fundamentals, and show me that if I give you 3 months and very structured guidance, you can learn to be very good very quickly. I think a perfect example of that is someone who started with us about a year ago who had who didn't even know how to write code in Python, had taken a couple of, was like applied math, sorry, not even applied math, applied mathematical finance major, which I didn't know was a major until they applied. And they came saying like, I'm really raw, but look at how much I can learn by myself overnight, and please like take a chance on me. And so we did, and once we did that, like I said, the tools are really good these days, and if you're very self-motivated and if you're working with a team who can coach you, because a lot of what happens in CS is you hit a bug and it's like takes you 6 hours to fix it, and in the end the fix was like stupidly simple, and someone more experienced could have like handled that for you. You can tackle it. The other thing my team does is we work in teams. When people think of a data scientist, they're thinking of some magical unicorn who can handle big data, who can do statistical modeling and analysis, who can do data visualization, and who can talk to businesses and understand needs and translate those problems into code. Those skill sets are each very difficult to gain, and I've only met like 3 people in my life who have all those, who are like world class at all 4. So the way we work is we work in a team. We usually have a team of 3 working on any given thing. Someone with a stronger math background, someone with stronger data engineering background, someone with a stronger data storytelling and visualization background, and the whole point is just to like get stuff done. And when they get good, like, you know, talent management's hard in any industry. Sometimes people stay forever. Sometimes they leave to go to Australia. Sometimes they start their own startups. Like, it's the circle of life. I could sing that song, but I'm not going to do that.
What about you, Arvin? Can you teach design thinking, or is it something that people just have?
Design thinking is easy to teach because we're all people, right? It's rooted in the human experience. So design thinking in itself actually is a discipline. It's not that hard to teach. Just to answer your original question, Mia, I think on the question of talent, we have our own formal process in our company, right? And we have to have this kind of degree, these grades, blah, blah, blah. But the teams I work with, which are really around innovation and a lot of our studio teams, for example, the thing I look for is just attitude. And you talked about that. It's the willingness to learn stuff and go beyond the borders a bit sometimes when you have to. And just learn something new also on their own, right? And bring something. I value the teams that are very, differentiated, very diverse, right? They come in with a different perspective. They're not afraid to speak up, and they come from different backgrounds. I think that diversity is very important. That's why even gender is important to our teams. I make sure we have a mixed team more often, if we can. All right. So I think it's ultimately about attitude, right? We've had people go into AI work, go into design work who had like backgrounds in biology or something totally left field, but they're successful simply because they have the right attitude.
What about developers?
Yeah, so actually, like, this is a very interesting issue because we really had to innovate in the way that, like, we get people and we get different developers, and what we came up with was a innovative hiring event. So what we do at our company is that every 2 weeks we host a hiring event in our office where we invite people and we tell them this is like a 4-hour program. And the way it works is that we have different activities that we have like designed, and it's all about like how proactive you are, your thinking process, different personality tests, and all of it is designed in form of group games. So there are actually games that we organize, and what happens is that like our HR team is literally just taking notes of like how people behave in a group setting, how will they face challenges, like we will throw one problem and then we tell them like how would you address this, and it's like you see people having different creative thinking, and that's something that we take note of. We see someone who has leadership attitudes, who's putting the team together, and we know that person has leadership qualities. And then like after taking all these notes, like we created a new program. It's our apprenticeship program where it's designed for fresh graduates, and what we do there is that they join us on a 2 to 3 month program. And then what we do is that we move them around different organizations inside our company. And given the fact that we are a company builder, we have many departments and many ventures, and these people kind of move around, and then after 3 months, we kind of give each other feedback. We ask them, what was the most interesting thing to you, the thing that you would love to do, and that you wouldn't consider it like work. And we also give them feedback based on how they performed, and we tell them, like, based on different feedbacks from different managers, these are your strong qualities, these are the things that you can improve on, and here's our suggestion. And then we suddenly reach a midway where it's something that they're absolutely passionate about, something that they're excited to work on, and also something where their skill sets and their knowledge comes to use. And then we turn that into their job offer. We say, based on how you did in the past 3 months, this is your job description. It's pretty much customized for every single person. And it's just filling the gaps and understanding how do people fit. And on an overall basis, like, we spend around 60 to 70% of our time working, and the rest is just absolutely learning. So these are doing different activities that just help you learn and do better, and that's what matters to us.
Mm-hmm. It's so great to hear that none of you guys have said anything about, well, this degree, that degree, this degree. I mean, AI is really the new gold rush, right? I mean, it's just either you go or you jump, as Paul says. You're just gonna go for it. You know, you just gotta try. Whether you come from biology, human sciences, coding, math, accounting, actuaries, it's like anybody can get rich. It's like the gold rush. All right, thank you guys so much. This is such a short amount of time to cover such a broad topic, but I did want to leave 1 minute for questions. Does anybody have any more questions about AI, how to get into it, how to design? Wow, we answered it all.
Just one question there.
Huh.
Simon.
I've got to ask you a question. I'm fascinated by AI. If I am one of the people in the audience that's got similar sort of enthusiasm as we, what is your top tip for getting started today? Where would you start, and what would you focus on first?
Were you able to hear that there was a bit of an echo?
I think we're going to give the same answer roughly. Just jump online and look at the courses that are available there. I mean, look at Udemy and all the other online courses. The Google Cloud Platform it costs $0 for the first 30 days, and it comes with training data and a lot of things already. So just open up a Google account and you should be fine.
And I think also, have like a use case in mind. Like when you said you built your drone overnight, it's like, I want to do this. Like if you're goal oriented, around not just like, going around and saying, look, Googling AI courses, if you're goal oriented, like I'm going to build something that does this.
Yeah, to Shahab's point, earlier, start with the outcome. What are you trying to fix, address, or, and then maybe jump online.
Exactly. Just get online now. Start while you get online now. Type
Google
CS2
it.
Go out now. No.
Get out. Oh, you're still here. Get out. Just go online. Look for resources. Look at how Berkeley has so many classes online. Stanford has so many classes online. I would start with those Coursera and Udacity videos, but those are quite shallow. So the moment you finish those, start digging in to more university curriculums around the world and have a problem in mind and start trying to solve your problem. Maybe your first solution's like kind of bad, but it sort of works. That's good enough. Like keep iterating on that.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much to our panel. Thank you, Shahab, Stephanie, Arvin, and Mia, of course.